Gentlemen, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Asante.
Happy Valentine.
Wacha
In advance.
hiyo story.
What is that?
What is that? So, for your better halves who will come across this podcast, let me just say that this podcast was free of charge. So, to buy you chocolates and flowers and
No
say,
expense has been
tulilipa podcast. Don't blame me. Ilikuwa bure. Anyway, happy to have you guys. My name is Lucas Maranga, and I just love doing this, having good, authentic conversations. My mission in life is to help people find and live meaningful lives. So I'm happy to be here, graced with this wazee wa baba wa nguvu, who are here, you know. And so I grew up in PCA church, where I grew up. If there's a pastor in the room, Pastor Kwanza ndio anapewa the first right of presentation. You know, yeah. So now that we have a pastor in the room, let me just start. Pastor Emmanuel, karibu sana.
Asante sana. It's good to be here.
Niliona husband father relationship champion, family ministries. Gugu, nimesikia hiyo? Ndio hiyo. So Pastor Emmanuel Kashanja is here with us on this podcast where we talk about men and love. So Pastor, just what does love mean to you?
Here, and I'm the one starting.
As you tell us a bit more about yourself.
As I tell you guys about myself. So first of all, thank you guys for having me. I always love it when men, meet together to have authentic conversation, because I think that's something missing in our society.
Absolutely.
So being here, it really is an honor, and it was a no-brainer. Even if I don't have content, I will come. Whatever that will be there, it will come out. But yeah, as you heard, I am a husband. That's my favorite title. I don't like the other titles of CG, doctor, engineer. It's husband first, then father, and then I am a relationship champion. I'm passionate about family, so I'm in that space. I support men, figuring out this love thing, this family thing. So that's what I do in a nutshell. Been doing it for quite some time now, a little bit over a decade, and I've been finding some good success in it. Yeah. So what is love? Wow, that's a hard one, huh?
Let me let you think about that for a minute. As we jump over to Pablo. Yeah. It's a hard one. I agree with you. That's why I asked you, so I don't answer it myself. So Pablo, always a pleasure having you here. Yeah. So tell us, who is Pablo?
I don't know. Pablo is just a guy who likes stories. If you meet me, you'll hear me. Yeah. If I'm in a room, you'll know I'm there. But I was not always like that. I was not always a guy of stories. I'm actually an introvert. I like my own space. I like to sit by myself. I like to read a good book. I like to paint. I like to listen to my music. I'm that guy who's comfortable I'm comfortable with myself. However, because I worked in an industry that required that I meet people, I worked in the communication advertising industry for many years, 20 years actually.
Yeah, it's a long time.
And I worked on the client-facing side. I was the guy who used to meet the clients, sell the work, pitch the business. So I had to teach myself a new skill set. Yeah. And earlier on in my life, I also found myself at the forefront so I used to lead worship, for example, at Nairobi Chapel and at Nairobi Baptist. So those jobs, because I loved music, those jobs forced me...
Put you out there.
Yes. So I had to teach myself a skill. How do you be this thing in front of people and be authentic there? So the art of telling a good story is a thing I have practiced for years and years and years and years. But now, it's the thing I do to make a living. Yeah. All of me put together boils down to storytelling. Yeah. I tell stories about life. I'm a practical guy. I'm not a guy of theory. The stories have to mean something, they have to be about something, and they have to be about someone, because relationships are what make the world go around. And today we're talking about love, which is at the very nexus
Yeah.
of what relationships are. Yeah, so what is
Okay.
love? We're about to find out.
Don't find us, yeah. Thanks, Pablo. And I like hanging out with you because we connect on the storytelling part, because I do storytelling also through a blog that I have almost for 10 years now. And so thanks for that. Bwana Guguni has a Promise Keeper program. Huyu sasa ni kama evangelist. Promise Keeper. All of you who promises will be broken this week. You can help you recover. Karibu Wycliffe.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Tell us a bit more about yourself.
It's a pleasure to be here, first of all. I'm so grateful. Really appreciate having me in. And I'm excited about this conversation. So, a brief about me is that I'm a father. I'm also a husband. And like he said, I do a lot of different things. And one of the things that I do is I'm the country director for a program called KECTIL, which focuses on nurturing young leaders in developing countries between age 18 and 26, when they're just making very important decisions in their career, what they want to do in their lives. And within the program, one of the campaigns we run is called the Male Promise Keeper campaign. And this Male Promise Keeper campaign actually helps to reduce the number of broken promises that that people get out here. So what the campaign advocates for, it says it's focusing on the gentleman. So the campaign says that if you're a man and you see a very beautiful, pretty lady who you'd like to be involved with, you should ask yourself these questions. Number one, if this lady gets pregnant, are you willing to take responsibility to take care of her and the baby? If the answer is yes, then do what is required for you to do that. If the answer is no, put your hands in the pocket and walk away. Then number two, you're going to commit to not raise your hand on any woman. So you're not going to beat a woman whatsoever. And number three, that you're going to protect the women around you, whether it's your mom, your sister, or any other woman, a stranger. You're going to protect them from physical harm that could result in the environment that they are in, maybe using the law, maybe you standing up as a man using your protective instinct, or whichever way. And then the next commitment is that you're going to teach this, like I'm doing right now. You're going to share this with other men and teach them that they should not beat women, they should protect women, and that they should act responsibly when they're dealing with women. That's the Male Promise Keeper campaign.
Wow. Brilliant. Sijui tumalizie hapo.
That's love language.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking about what we've been seeing, these cases of femicide.
Yeah.
You know, just men butchering.
Yeah.
And it's just horrible. But I remember something I read somewhere that a hurting person
Will hurt.
hurts others, you know? So almost this guy who has done this horrible thing, are they hurting? And like you said, it could be a love thing. Either they didn't receive love, or they received a fake version of love that makes them do this, yeah? And talk about that. So back to you, Pastor Emmanuel. What is love?
So I didn't hear what these other two gentlemen said because I was trying to think, what is love? You asked me the hardest question. You know, as a man, and I think anytime you mention love, first of all, dictionary, if you look at Oxford and Merriam-Webster dictionary, it talks about deep feeling, deep emotion, deep, stuff like that. But the more and more, I think, and I was sharing earlier how I've been married for 23 years, and I've realized that love really is not even about feelings. You know, feelings are very fleeting.
Transient.
And now more and more, my definition of what I think love is going more the biblical way. And the biblical way just puts it a very simple way, that, you know, it's an action,
It's an action.
as in it's a verb that we choose to do on a daily basis, and it's founded on these two principles, on these two pillars. The first one is patience, and the second one is kindness. And basically, what it's saying is that patience are the things that we do to protect us from creating the conflict within the love. This is the part where we are removing whatever logs from the fire to allow the fire to simmer down, so that we have a setting or an environment that is conducive to carry on with whatever conversation or relationship that we have. But it's also kindness, which is the intentional acts that we do to show someone that we love them. You know, it's the gentleness, it's the, you know, all those other things that are involved in kindness, the intentional acts of love. And I guess that's where now, you know, these other things that women struggle with in terms of, you know, giving flowers and chocolates and all that come in. But I think it's more than the flowers and the chocolate, but I think it's more about the nurture, the kindness, the thoughtfulness, and all those things that are encompassed in that pillar of kindness, that now allow the person who we are giving it to know that we truly care about them and we are about them.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. So, Pablo, is love a myth?
No. I'm a proponent, I'm a firm believer that love is a gift.
You give and receive.
Yeah. So it's a deliberate thing you do. Love is also care. So it's actions that are deliberate to and given to and received from people who you care for.
And why do many men struggle with it? That's why I'm using the word myth.
So here's the thing. We have equated love with romanticism. Romanticism is such a, let me call it the 10%. But that is where all the focus of love is. Yeah. But actions that show care, even discipline, is love. I will check you because I care about you and I want you to improve. When you check your son or when you discipline your son, isn't that an act of love? Yeah. So our focus has been, because it has more clickbait value. We give romanticism and all this buy the card, go on a date. Those are the things that we equate with a loving relationship. But isn't dependability a love trait? Isn't knowing that the rent will be paid on time, every time on time, a love thing? That you will not sleep outside, that there will be food on the table every day.
Many men don't see it that way. Just see it as something they're required to do, and there you fall short.
So those are love actions.
Yeah, they're love action, but I'm just saying, I don't know what you gentlemen think, that to many men, this is why you're here, guy.
Yeah.
Do this, yeah. So tell me, love, like, what are you talking about? And maybe the times when he's not been able to meet one of those obligations, the flack you get. So love is the last thing he'll relate to what you're talking about.
But I think he alluded to it, that the reason that is because of what we have made love. Love is the romantic, you know, those acts of romance. You know, when you think of love and how it's been painted, even in the media, socials, whatever, you know, it's that we grew up in a generation where, you know, in primary school we saw Mills and Boone being passed around, you know, and the way those men handle the women, that was what is love. So again, the thing that he's talking about, the provision, the protection, the dependability, all those things, they're not equated to love. Because if I care about you, if you mean something to me, then these are the things that I am responsible for giving to you. If I have no care for you or compassion or anything, then I don't need to give this to you, So that means I have no love for this person. And I think it's a powerful thing that he has shared.
Can I throw a spanner in the works and maybe ask some sort of philosophical question? Is it possible that someone can do all these things without love?
The court
So
can,
someone-
the court can tell you.
Again, if love is a feeling, then yes.
No, if it's a feeling, Emmanuel, then you will not do it.
No, he said you can.
Is it
I
possible
don't
to do
have to
them?
have feelings for example, for Pablo, to know that hey, the guy has walked here, sijui from where. Let me just give him these shoes because mzee anateseka labda broke or something. I don't have to have feelings for that, and I can just do it just for the sake because I had an extra pair of shoes.
Could be
Yes.
coming from a point of kindness. That is, when you help someone who is in need from a point of kindness.
Yes.
Let's put this into the love of work, in a work environment. You could be performing your responsibilities at work because at the end of the day you need to get that paycheck. So you're going there to get the money, you do what you have to do, but you don't really enjoy or you don't really love what you do, but you're doing it for the money. So that could be another perspective of things where, like you've said, the court could compel you to pay school fees.
If you don't feel like.
Yeah, and it's something you just have to do. And you're like, I can't wait until these kids are 18 and I'm done with them, So I think there's something pastors talked about, kindness and patience. I think those two things zero down to the meaning of love in a way that I like, especially the patience part of it. Because, okay, you've seen relationships where people break up and in a very short period of time they get into another relationship to prove to the other person that I'm still hot in the market. And you ask yourself, was there really patience in this relationship? And someone told me that if you have conflict with your partner, take a minimum of 2 to 3 years as you try to resolve it and see what will be the possible outcome. So patience is very key in expression of love. And maybe just to add into what my friends have talked about the definition of love, I think love is an extension of grace. So there's a lot of grace in love. And it is a gift of oneself. You give yourself to someone with a lot of grace so that you are willing to be patient and kind to them even when you're not supposed to. So that's how I would look at love, an extension of grace. And that is how God expresses his love to us. And I think that is how he expects us to express it to our children, our friends, our spouses, as an extension of grace. So that means love is not easy.
And you're right because it goes against the grain.
Yeah.
It goes against the grain of how we are wired.
Yeah.
We are constantly looking inward, thinking inward. I'm thinking about my needs, my wants, my achievements, my this. So thinking about other people, unless I have to think about you, unless you're directly under me, like my wife and my kids, or my siblings, who I'm the firstborn. Pablo, you'll sort yourself. Lucas, you'll sort yourself. You're a grown man. Yeah.
Is there an expectation that love should be reciprocal?
I was just going to actually add on to what Manuel said about giving it. Does it then come to full blossom when even the one receiving it is interpreting it as love?
It does.
You see,
Well-
such that when I pay rent, for example, and that my family says, wow, look at this act of love. So does it now manifest? See love from the giver and the receiver.
I think so, because when we talk about love in most situations, when you ask what is love, the immediate reaction to majority of people would be, how do I view love being given to me? So how do I look at it as being the recipient of it? So someone will talk about maybe someone being kind to me, someone being patient with me, someone taking me on dates, someone calling me, someone checking and showing care to me. But then we don't spend enough time to ask ourselves, what does it mean to love? So, like you've mentioned, it comes to full blossom when you look at it from both the recipient and the giver's point of view. Yeah.
I have a question. And this is, I guess, a thought process I've been processing lately about that whole love thing. And it's based on that question that you've just asked. Does it come to full blossom when I feel? I agree with you that yes, it does. But what if it doesn't? Then does that mean that nullifies love?
Love.
Because my policy now, what I'm learning now, is my responsibility is to give love to humanity, whether they deserve it or not. I mean, even if you think
Whether they
about it
return it
biblically,
or not.
whether they return it or not. I mean, I'm just thinking, the other day I was teaching about Philippians, where it talks about, something about, do not look to your own interests, but, look to the interest of others and stuff. And then he says, equates this to the love that Christ gives mankind, humanity. And he gives us that. One, we don't deserve it. Because at the core of who we are just so broken as human beings. And in our brokenness, we don't consider him. In fact, we just come back to him many times when we're in trouble. When there's an issue. That's when we remember him, unless you're intentional with your relationship. But humanity, that's how we are. But he gives love regardless. And he tells us, imitate this. He even talks about love your enemies. I'm just like, so then does it have to be given back for it to be full blossom? Or is it the fact that I, as a human being, is my responsibility to gain love and to pour it out to humanity? And again, this is not just the feelings part, it's that foundational thing that we're talking about. The patience to understand that we are all works in progress, that you'll make mistakes, you'll blunder. My partner will make mistakes. In fact, I normally say that the husband, the wife that you're hoping for is a good 20 to 25 years away. Because they have to grow into their role. Yeah, they have to grow into their role. And then curveballs are constantly being thrown. A child is thrown here in the mix, and that child brings a whole whatever different thing. You as the man, you're feeling left out. Ati sasa hawa wako na relationship mimi ni nini. And a second one, then they go to school. And then parents become unwell. Life is constant. You lose a job, business just fails. Something is constantly happening, and we're constantly adjusting. And as a result, this person is changing until you actually settle into, like, we are in our 15 years old, it's no secret. We are on fifth floor. We're on fifth floor. And being on fifth floor, you're so much more settled in the way you think, the way you do things. You've understood purpose. This guy has known now, I'm a storyteller. I don't need to go and prove to people I'm engineer, doctor, president so-and-so.
Life simplifies.
Life simplifies. Now you've understood this purpose. I want to give back. You're a coach. You're doing the same thing. Coaching the, men, and I think at that point is when you get to your equilibrium, and you're constantly changing. So my thing is, as that person is changing and morphing and making their mistakes and doing all that, and upsetting and frustrating you, and there's conflict in the situation, do we deny them of love, or So we constantly give them that love. So it's a thing that is our responsibility to constantly give, and it doesn't come full circle if they don't return it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe
Thanks
just
for
to
that.
ask a question following on that, or maybe to make a comment. So he's talked about seasons. That love ebbs and flows because of our very nature. That there are going to be highs and there are going to be lows. And that should not affect the object of our love.
That sounds theoretical.
Yes, so the constant is you love me regardless.
Yeah.
But we all know, and this is now where the practicality comes, because of the seasonality of how we are, love can end.
Love can die.
Yes, love can die.
Atuizike.
Or love can go blind for a while, so that you don't see each other. And so that you can damage each other in a relationship like that. So my question is this. One, and maybe I want to hear from all of you this one. What's your first love experience? Whatever that is. Yeah, so what is your first love experience where you're like, oh, I feel loved. What was that? And then two, when love dies, how do you reignite? What is the opportunity for second chance love? Can you find that equilibrium again?
All right. I think first love. Me, I think what has gone back. I don't even know if it was a love, but it was primo. And the thing about the feeling.
Infatuation.
The feeling you feel when you
it was infatuation.
there, behind the home science class. I still remember. You know?
Are you sure you want to tell that story?
You know? And like, wow, you go home, you are thinking. You remember those two writing pads?
Yeah.
That had like a picture at the corner and what. So was that infatuation or whatever? But that was the feeling. Now I'm describing the feeling.
Yeah.
Could have been infatuation, whatever it was, but it was the feeling. Yeah. That's the far back I can remember. For me.
I remember my experience also in primary school. The experience of love was walking home together. Just from school, going back home, telling stories. And I think during that time when you're young and you're like boys talking and like, did you walk with that girl home? And you're like, yeah, I did it. How did it feel? What were you talking about? And that was the whole experience of love.
Hey, I'm trying to remember. but I remember as a kid, there was a young girl. We're probably 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old. And where she was, I was. Where I was, she was. Like, our parents knew, if you want to find so-and-so, look for so-and-so. If you want to find so-and-so, look for so-and-so. And I remember I was very enamored. And we got along and played all sorts of games or everything. Chamama, chababa, everything we played at that age. But I think what I remember is this person fully accepted me for who I was. I can actually remember that as a child. And I think I tried to replicate that almost in every relationship, and not just male-female relationship, but relationship period.
Yeah.
I think it was a need or a want inside for whatever reason. But that acceptance, I think what happened is I was born outside of this country. When I came to Kenya, I felt very different. First of all, Swahili ilikuwa Swahili sanifu, tunasema naomba. When you meet older people, shikamo baba, shikamo mama, shikamo mjomba, Here, hey, we are rough, bana. Habari, sasa, fiti, mambo, Nataka. So gaining that acceptance, this person gave me that acceptance. So I think that was my past experience.
Okay.
I'd like to make comments on what Pastor said earlier about connecting to reciprocation of love, and then Pablo talked about what do you do when love dies. I kind of agree with the idea that love does not have to come back to you. And for it to blossom, I think it has to be interpreted from both sides, like I'd mentioned, by giving and receiving, but not coming back to you necessarily. So when God gives us love, he expects us not to stay with it, but to pass it on and give it to someone else. And this someone else that you give to does not need to deserve it. But you would expect that the expectation of you giving that love is that it will enlighten them to the point of them being able to share it, and it keeps growing. And I think that is how love is designed, such that it's not supposed to be harbored in one place as a recipient, but as you receive it, you're supposed to learn how do you give it for it to fully manifest in your life. So as you receive love, you need to think about how do I also learn how to give it out. And like you said, love is hard. It's not easy. So as an extension of grace, there are a lot of things that you'll have to do to someone or people you love that they don't deserve, but you want to do it. And there's a gentleman who has written a book called The 12 Rules for Life, Jordan Peterson. And one of the rules, he says that don't let your kids do the things that makes you dislike them. So, and that means if you love someone, the kids are just an example. If you love someone, you will not be happy when they deviate from the very things that make you get attracted to them. It could be your friend, your wife, or your kids. If they do things that you do not like, I do not believe in the idea of love dies per se, but I believe in the idea that you lose attraction, but the love is there. But then you start to lose attraction when they do things that you don't like. Maybe they are not polite to you anymore. You don't like it, they're deviating from the things that get you attracted to them. You don't let them do that. Love does not let you do that. That means you will have to have difficult conversations in those moments where they deviate from the very things that make you get attracted to them. And someone recommends having 90 minutes every week to have difficult conversation where you sit down with the people you love. It could be your kids or your wife or your friend, and you start having conversation about the things about them that you do not like. And that is love. So it's about now what you're saying, making them the kind of person, the ideal person in your mind, because nobody is that perfect. So you have to shape each other, and shaping each other is the process of conversation where both of you are willing to change in that process of having these conversations, and you're willing to speak the truth. Because how love has been portrayed in society sometimes is that a white lie is better than the truth, you know? And even when people are courting, there are a lot of lies, like you're the what in my ocean, you're the what, you know, those things that you
Only
say.
been in my gideri.
Yeah, exactly. But then at some point it gets, you have to now start talking about things that are difficult to listen to. Yeah.
I want to come back to something you do. You mentioned your mentorship program, Wycliffe. Mm-hmm. So from your experience with working with these young men, why are many men failing and not falling in love?
Oh, that's a complex question, huh? Very complex, which I don't have a very straight and clear answer to.
Your thoughts, and so these guys can changia.
Yep. So I think there are a couple of things that could contribute to why men fail in love, because one, it could be the kind of experiences that someone has had in their life, because we say we are a product of our environment and our experiences. It could be how you've been brought up, the family environment, the kind of relationship you've built, and how you define building relationships, and so forth and so on. And I think within African society, or most societies, the value of a man is equipped to the levels of responsibility and respect that they earn in society. So men want to give love or express love where they most feel respected and where they see that they have responsibility or they can take responsibility. So that's how men kind of express love in that. That's the environment under which men express love. Now, one of the changes that has happened to society nowadays is that women can take some of the responsibilities that used to be just for men. So what happens to the man in that kind of environment? They feel like this is not a conducive environment for me to express love. So you find young men who are not able to take responsibility for the people who they should love, could be provision or one form or another, and then they feel they cannot express their love very well. Another thing, it could be parental and upbringing. So we have a lot of single parents nowadays, no role models, manly role models for the boys and how they grow up. And so how they express love kind of shifts and changes. If I'm brought up by a single mom and I see that my mom takes both the responsibilities of a man and a woman, and sometimes the responsibilities of a woman, she's probably not able to take them very well with me, then it means that my expression of love gets skewed at that point, will be different. So I think bringing the changes in society and the environment where men operate in could influence why men are failing in expressing
I
love.
think it's a powerful thing that you have said, and I think it's very true. Over the past maybe 30, 40 years, women have been very intentional about empowering themselves and the other women. Whereas men, we've been comfortable for so long that we're not passing down the same knowledge, values, roles, responsibilities to other men. We are not very intentional. This is why this forum for me is a big deal, because it's actually now rare. When we see men actually talking about this, we are excited about it.
You even mentioned how it was sent to you like from...
Yeah. It from all corners. Like the flyer is coming from, where ulipata hii wapi? Me, I've just received it. Where did you get this from?
So that shows there's a great need.
There's a great need. And men are not talking. You know, you talked about earlier how there's femicide, men killing, men committing suicide. In one of the counties, there were 41 suicides. And they said of those 41, 2 of them were women. The rest were men. The rest were men. You know, so there's a huge issue in that. One, I feel like we have not been raised, cultured, taught, trained on how to be a man and how to love.
Yeah.
All right. But and then also our societal and culture is teaching us men to suppress specifically our emotions. All right. Which is the place now we get to express the things that we express.
So we do it destructively.
Or one, we hold it onto it, or or in other ways, we have been taught we need to come up with the solution and bring the solution and not share the problem. So men, we don't talk about our issues. Like if I came here and I had an issue, I would say, hey guys, man, hey, at home, hey my guys, it's burning. And you guys will say, hey, for real, wife ameleta juu. Say, hey, wife ameleta juu. And then you'll say, hey, my guy, strong, tuko pamoja. And the conversation has ended. And right there, I've expressed everything, that it's burning at home, you've understood, your wife is causing for you, it's disrespect, blah, blah. You've understood all those things. And then you've encouraged me and told me, my guy, Strong?
Strong.
And you have told me I'm not alone to Kopamoja. You get?
But sorry to interrupt you, Emmanuel, but maybe I'm unable to go beyond car strong because I'm ill-equipped
So that's what I'm saying.
to help you.
That's
It's
what
like
I'm-
give me a Formula One car, and I'm used to riding a bike, and I'm ill-equipped.
I honestly don't think that's what it is. I think it's a little bit more than that. Again, the reason you're ill-equipped is because expression has been suppressed. All right? So from the time we're kids, if I cry, acha kulia kama msichana, you know, that's what I was told. And in fact, I started to repeat the same thing to my sons, and I had to stop myself. All right? I said, stop crying like a girl. You want me to give you a reason to cry? Why are you crying like this? Men don't cry. And I would do that. And I realized what I was doing is that in psychology, they'll teach us that a man has just as much emotions as a woman. We have just as much emotions. It's just the woman is allowed to express. So she has built that muscle, and that muscle, her emotional muscle, is equivalent in our days Schwarzenegger. You remember Schwarzenegger? Yeah? So her emotional muscle is equivalent to that, whereas your emotional muscle is equivalent to a child. A child's physical muscle.
Because you're not working that
Because you're
muscle.
not working that muscle. So when I come and I say it's burning, you guys have understood, you've taken what you needed to take, and you've told me strong. So you won't help me process, like, hey, homie, what's going on? And she did what? What? And then you feel me. Hey, how can she do that? You know, there's not that. And sometimes it's in that processing. If you listen to women talk, sometimes they don't have solutions for each other. But it's in that conversation of listening, that conversation of empathy, and then, you know, they're saying, maybe we should have done this. Maybe, do you think it's this? And they have a conversation, and the solution comes up within that. But even then, the most important is that you are able to unburden.
So how do we get there now?
So now we have to teach
Because
ourselves.
the more of us walk around these streets wounded like that, you go, the body count you leave behind is atrocious.
And you have to teach yourself as a man. You have to say, first of all, I have to teach myself to talk. Earlier on, I was saying.
So before I even teach my kijana at home, I have to.
You have to. It starts with you, because you can't tell him ongea, and then you know, we replicate what we saw growing up. You know, my dad didn't talk much. I only saw him talking on important things. You know, politics, and things like that, and that's what I emulate. But feelings.
So I'm having those conversations with my father now. Interestingly, I grew up with him. He provided everything. All those things were there, and it was a great thing. But we never had conversations about us. What is it like to date a girl? What is it like to? We never had deep conversations. Is it that there was no space for it? Is it that there was no time for it? I don't think so. I tend to agree with him that we are ill-equipped because we don't put in the work.
And is that what is causing this generational cycles of
So love is another thing.
breakdown?
Love is communication. So why does love die? Why does love go silent? We stop talking to each other. He said something about making time for difficult conversations. And it's the difficult conversations that are more important than the easy ones.
But we need to learn. You cannot do something you have not learned.
You learn it by doing it.
So here's one of the things that I've done. Remember earlier on we were talking about walking, Nini. You were telling us you run,
yes.
you were telling us you walk. So one of the things that we tried to institute in our home is my wife and I said, you know, we are going to be walking 10,000 steps, you know, in the evening. And this 10,000 steps is not for physical health. It's for emotional health. Hey, let me tell you, my guy, I have struggled. And she asked me, how was your day? It was good. What did you do? You know, same old, different day. And my stories are pushed there. But now I have to come up with stories of how the day went. So like today, if we're going to do the walk, I have to tell her, I met a guy called Pablo. This guy knows Pastor M. He knows Sinin. He knows everybody around. In fact, Hicks was there. He sent him a message. He's a cool guy. He's a cool guy. He went to school, patch, he played. He's a guy I can bond with.
No, the patch part, leave it out.
This patch has to come up in every podcast.
Patch has to be removed. You know? So now I'm teaching myself that I have to be able to allow her to get into my world. Yeah. And for her to get into my world means I have to talk. It's hard. It's very difficult.
That is the thing. He has hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
So vulnerability, people use this word, but do they understand what vulnerability is? What does it mean to be vulnerable? Oh, you need to be vulnerable. You need to be vulnerable. What is that thing? Say it in a sentence. If I told you to act vulnerable, what would you do?
Those are like Mzungu tabias now.
I know.
Now that you brought in Wazungu, let me interject. There's a guy I was listening to yesterday, and I was just trying to figure out what are people saying about this love thing out here. He's called Alain de Botton. He's a philosopher guy, and he says that love is a skill. Love is a skill. I found it very interesting, and I wanted to figure out what does he mean. You've mentioned communication. Yeah. You've mentioned vulnerability. Now, for him, he points it out this way, that if you do not know how to love, if you've not been taught and you've not experienced how to love by developing the skill, you'll not be able to do it. So he says that love is interpreting someone's not so good behavior in a deeper way beyond the surface to find out the reasons why they behave the way they do. So that means it's difficult for people to be vulnerable. So if I'm in love with someone,
those are sticking points for them, and they're difficult about them already.
Yes, so maybe it could be because of their childhood trauma or something. How they express is difficult. So if you have the skill to interpret something beyond the surface, you'll be able to know this is trauma reaction or response. This could be anxious attachment or anxious avoidance. That's the skill he's talking about. So he says that you could love someone, and then perhaps you are late for a date, and then they lose it. They become angry, and then because you do not know how, you don't have the skill to love, you become angry as well, and that thing breaks down. But if you have the skill, you'll interpret that behavior on the surface with something deeper inside, that perhaps the emotions have been hurt based on past experiences or something. Now, someone else in a similar situation could behave differently. You're late on a date and they avoid you. They don't get angry, they avoid you. Yeah, so they start acting differently. If you have that skill to love, you'll interpret that in a very different manner from just the surface reaction or the surface behavior. So this guy says that you have to develop the skill, and that means you have to learn, and you have to probably understand the human being as a whole for you to be able to love. I found that very interesting.
That's cool.
That got I was going to ask quickly. So, one of those 18 to 25 young men that you're mentoring, who's 24, 25, has a young wife or partner with a child, he has like a hustle. In the complexity and the toughness of this Nairobi life,
who's teaching that guy how to love?
How does he even learn that?
Now, let me speak to them perhaps on how they could learn this. I think in the digital space that we're living in right now, there are a lot of opportunities for you to be able to gather information about as many topics as you want. If you just have to, first of all, get to accept that you need this and there's a problem and you need to get to understand yourself, majorly yourself. It starts with learning about you even before you start to study and learn others. So you don't go there pointing out trauma on others, but you have not even dealt with yourself. So it's an inward journey. Actually, the school of love is an inward journey rather than an outward.
Are you lovable?
Yes.
Enough?
And are you comfortable with being yourself so that you do not distract yourself? Yeah, exactly. Self-love. And then once you have a very good understanding of yourself and loving yourself, a relationship with yourself, you're able now to share that out with others. And you're able to even use that skill to interpret people's behaviors based on how you've understood yourself. People sometimes don't even check and observe themselves from an outsider point of view and ask yourself, like, how am I behaving?
blind spots.
Yeah, you look at yourself and ask, like, why am I behaving like this? Why did I do that, surely? Is it something that is causing me to act like this? Why is it that when I'm in difficult conversation, I avoid, I don't confront? Why is it that I avoid conflict? Why is it that I isolate myself in such situations?
Because I struggle with that even up to now.
Yeah.
Nothing of avoiding.
Yeah, so
Because Sana, I would rather, if I have to, I will, but I would rather.
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
it's
I don't like it, but I do it.
it's an inward journey. And okay, when you go online, let's say you search on how to deal maybe with that, maybe to deal with anxiety and so forth and so on. There are a lot of communities, there are a lot of data outside here.
Okay.
There are a lot of therapies that could help on this information. So if someone is busy trying to make a living, take some moment, check online. There's a codependency group actually that has a lot of data on self-understanding and getting to understand love with yourself. So you're able to read and join communities online, not even physical ones, and then connect with people and get to understand yourself much better from your own behavior and also from the stories of others that you can relate to.
I think more of us men also need to put out content that speaks to the same. And the reason I say that is because you're right, there's a lot of information. But what information is that? And is it really helpful? Is it spreading toxic masculinity, or is it spreading the kind of masculinity or love or information that will build you and get you to where you need to be? I think, yes, I agree with the digital. There's a lot of information out there. But how do people decipher? Because, there's a movement that is going on right now as we speak, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes. But in this movement, there's a lot of truths that are spewed on that, on the platform. But because some of them come from a place of brokenness, everything that is shared after that is from a broken lens. And it's the kind of information that protects you from getting hurt rather than teaching you how to be everything that you've been called to be. And I think it's critical for people to just ask themselves, what are you? Because yes, there's a lot of information out there, but it's also critical that you find information that is helpful to you. And then also knowing that information is hard.
Or even before the information, being aware that I lack in this area. You know how I'm feeling hungry, so I need to go look for food. Even getting that place mentally or even here. Being aware that, okay, I have this
and
shortcoming
like this,
that I need
and platforms
help.
like this now begin,
create that awareness.
If us as men can be really authentic to say, hey, in as much as we're not doing too badly for ourselves, there's a lot of flaws and a lot of things we need to consider. And in opening up, then people begin to gain awareness. Oh, okay, I connect with that guy. He said this and this. Maybe I need to rethink, and they can reach out, or even now go and begin to research about what it is that, maybe I need to think through this and process it on my own. Because so when you were talking, I remembered a story. A few years back, I went to do counseling psychology. And the reason I went to do counseling psychology was so that I could be a better coach, counselor, to help people get through this life. And I'll never forget telling the instructor that day that very thing. And the instructor said, my friend, if you are coming here, please come so that you can fix what's inside. Because that is when you can. I said, mimi ni pastor. I'm saved, sanctified, sijui, fire breathing, demon chasing, all those things. There is nothing you guys can do for me. And she looked at me and she smiled. You know that smile, like, it was just one of those cynical smiles. And I was just like, I wonder what she meant. Anyway, 2 classes later, we are learning counseling skills. And what she used to do was she used to practice those skills as she's teaching. And she will ask a question and then say, I noticed you said this. Why, what was the feeling behind this? And then this person shares, then even you changia. Then the moment I changiaed, she said, finally, I've got him. And she asked me a question, asked me a follow-up question. By the 3rd question, there was a deep cry from down here. Not tears for rolling here. And then, counseling, mostly it's the women who go for counseling. So all the counselors, all the other students are like, oh, pastor, don't cry. It's making it even worse. But at that point, what I thought I was okay, I realized, you're right. There's trauma, there's things inside that have affected me that I probably need to start by looking inside. And in looking inside, then I see the brokenness and I'm able to work on it. For example, in that session, I remember I learned where my trust issues come. We can talk about Manchester United and Liverpool and Arsenal and Chelsea. We can talk about, Jubilees, UDA and all those people. We can talk about all this. But man, we talk about come close like this is a problem. And in that class, in front of all these people, my issue and the origin of that issue was revealed. And now because of that, I can help others.
Wow.
Because of that, I can help others. Because now it was a shame in my life, but now it's no longer a shame. So I can talk to other gentlemen and tell them, hey, my guy, these things happen. But how do you overcome it? I said, this is the journey that I went through. And I think we all have to get to that part where we look back inside and ask ourselves, what are the things that are affecting us? For example, I desire affirmation, but that's because in the home I grew in, perfection was demanded. There was so much perfection that was demanded, and you are never good enough. So you can do something, but Lucas was number 1 in that area. Why you can't be number 2?
Always stick.
There's always a stick. Yeah.
There's something that you've said that gets me to start reflecting. That inward journey. It started after you went to see this teacher, the counseling psychologist, and she's the one who helped you be able to see inside yourself. And that means sometimes it's very difficult for us to see our own flaws. So we have a tendency to believe that we are good and we are okay, and we have blind spots for seeing the things that are wrong with us and the traumatic experiences that we have. And it takes another person to do that. And this same guy, Alain de Botton, says that there are some specific vital source of information for you that you should consider. One is your ex-girlfriend.
A vital source of information.
Because they'll tell you as it is. Because during those heated arguments that you've had, or even your wife, during those heated arguments that you've had, they tell you things that, you're like, these are very painful truths. They tell you how you are avoidant. They probably tell you how you are addicted to things. They probably tell you how you behave in conflict, and they'll point these. And During that moment of conflict, you might not accept it. But when you sit down with yourself and reflect, you're like, these are specific truths I need to deal with. And I think because human beings, we have that tendency not to have blind spots of ourselves, we need to consider taking these sources of information. Our parents sometimes could not tell us these things because they cover them in a way because they don't want to hurt you. Sometimes you learn about things in the most unexpected circumstances or environments where you're not able to. And that is why, going back to how we began, that 90 minutes difficult conversation with someone you love, it's very important, and where you speak the truth, because you're trying to sharpen and help each other be better.
The truth in love.
Yes.
So it's
with
interesting,
love.
eh?
Yeah.
We walk around, everybody, guys, girls, walk around with a love deficit. We may be, the ones who are enlightened are aware that we have a love deficit.
But most of us sound fuliza.
Yes.
Fuliza ya mapenzi.
So the people who are aware that they're in a love deficit are doing something about it. How? They are taking time, one, to build a network of love providers. You need to fill the deficit so that you can give. Cannot pour out of nothing.
How does that look like for a man?
So
Love providers.
yeah.
deficit.
So for me, a love provider is like, let me tell you something. You are a love provider for me. And I look for men who have got character, who've got wisdom, who are astute, who are responsible, who. So you see that the things that you aspire to be, that you see, and that are true of a man who is sound and who is the guy you would like to be like, Surround yourself with those people.
Yeah. I call it having a personal board of directors. Yeah.
And those guys should not be more than 5 guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those guys you can take, and then you have to go deliberately. This is not a thing that you are doing and they don't know. You must go to them and say, Percy, you're that guy. And then he must accept that he's that guy. And then he must know that I can call him at 3 and tell him, Percy,
It's Kubaya.
it's Kubaya. It's Kuhot, and then you tell me it's strong. You ask me,
Tuongea asubuhi. And asubuhi might not be there.
I should be able to say, Uko wapi?
Uko wapi?
Tuma pi.
do I need to come now? Yeah, you can ask me the hard
In
question.
fact, let me just interrupt you for a blow. I was watching a podcast like this that was shared by one of my boys who's on that personal board of directors. In fact, beginning of this year, we had like a strategy session for a full day. Everyone says the mpango, and then we all poke holes in it, because also you give each other meddling rights.
Yes.
Whereby I can ask you anything.
I can ask you anything.
And then unaniuliza kama nani? That doesn't matter. So this is a podcast. So these two guys, they're like, okay, it's like how we're here. So you have one person you can call, and you tell them, hi, we are going to do something very, very bad. Many people will get hurt. And you can never tell anybody about it, and you can never ask me about it. But I need you to do this thing. So this podcast, guys, just like this. And then, of course, you're allowed to call one person. So to see, nani yako na ule beste. Yeah. So this guy calls, and then he's told, so the person on their end, he's woken up. We need to do this. So they're like, okay, let me call you back. Like, okay. Wycliffe calls this guy. I've now forgotten the second guy. He called his pal again, woke him up because it was an early morning podcast. So the guy paused, so the whole podcast room is quiet. No, the response, we're going to do something very bad. Many people will get hurt. You can never ask me about it. Do you know there are guys after a heavy sigh? Whose car are we using? So those guys say, your friend, even me, I want you want a guy like that.
Yeah.
He's understood.
Yeah.
Just because, Emmanuel, you're my guy.
Yeah.
I'll join you in this that might hurt many people, and I'll never ask.
Hizo maswali zingine
But just cause,
tutaulizana baadaye.
whose car are we using? Yeah, that was the only thing. Ni gari yako na gari yako. Uende. Imagine having a guy like
Because let me tell you, this love thing, why it's important. There are sometimes you can't explain the place that you're in.
by the way. Can't put it in words.
I can't say that this is a whole I mean.
You can't.
I'm
I
struggling.
need you
To see the
for
whole.
me.
To see the whole.
That's why I'm coming to
Because
you.
you can't see it. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So if I can't come to you, guess what?
That's it.
Spiral.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So femicide, alcoholism.
Suicide, whatever,
Suicide.
all those things, substance abuse, and all those things.
So because we have not built our love providers, we're here floundering in the darkness, going to look for valid information from invalid sources. And then, this is now the thing, now compounding. Now we are going to invalid sources. And then considering intimacy as a balm.
Kaluma.
So if I put intimacy, if I get intimacy, it has solved that problem. So if she kissed me or we have made love or we had sex, then that problem has gone. It hasn't.
It hasn't. It's still there.
It has not.
Hey, gents, we need to learn this conversation.
Let me make a comment, please, before you land it, about the example you've given of the guy who asked whose car are we using.
Yeah, we have guys like that. Let me tell you.
Yeah, because it's important, even when you know your friend is on the wrong side,
Yeah.
you tell them that I'm on your side.
Yes.
First of all,
I'm
before
on your
even
side.
you correct them, before you correct them, they need to know that you're on their side.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have difficulty in their relationship, and you know that they're the wrong guy. Yeah, but you need to assure them that you are on their side, and then now you can start dealing with the correction. But sometimes when you start saying hapa hata wewe umefanya mbaya, sometimes you might get him into the deeper hole. I have a friend like that who, okay, when I do something stupid, there's this time I told him I did this and that, and then he's like, okay, that's fine. And then after some time of talking about it, that's when he asks, by then, now why did you do that? You know? You know, so first of all, it starts by that validation and having the confidence, and you know they'll be with you irrespective of the circumstance, and then now you can deal with the issue.
And that your friendship is not at risk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, this thing about conflict is that it brings very many things to the core. Even that relationship, even that they're asking for that thing, if there's even that relationship is vulnerable in that moment,
And it's being tested.
it could end because of the thing you're asking. But I need to know that the love transcends. It's a hard thing. It's a deep thing. Back then, it's a deep thing.
Yeah.
To have friendships like those. And maybe the question is, are we building friendships that are deep enough?
Yeah.
Or are we just superficial in our interactions so that when the storms come, we are swept away with the tide?
Yeah.
And you have roots.
Wow. Gentlemen, it's like an hour and a half. And it feels like it was 20 minutes. So this is a week for Valentine. Yeah. We after discussing all these deep things, Maria Mapenzi. So, and we can start with you. What is your message to a man who's listening to this podcast, who will listen because it's going to be on our YouTube Chill and Connect page? And we'll respond. There's some questions here. I'll just look at them and then we can respond. But yeah, this is a week of Valentine's. What did you tell a man this week about love?
Well, maybe just to emphasize what we've been talking about here, I'll tell them, and that's the camera.
Yes.
I'll tell the men listening here that love is an extension of grace, like we talked about, and it starts with you. You need to learn how to extend that grace to yourself, and also learn to have a relationship with yourself, a good relationship with yourself. Improve yourself, work on becoming a better human being, and when you do work on yourself, improving yourself, becoming a better human being, things around you start to improve. That's when you're able now to extend that love and that grace to others. There are men movements here. Men go their own way and such stuff where they focus on men going to the gym, increasing your income and all that stuff. Okay, that is important. But beyond that, you need to work on your emotions. You need to deal with your childhood traumas. You need to be honest with yourself on your ability to share love and work on those things as well, so that you don't just work on the physical and the material aspects, but you're empty emotionally. Yeah.
Thanks. Wow. Thanks. 2 messages here. Winfred.
So you let us respond to that one first.
Sorry, boss.
Basi yako na burning.
I'm learning to receive feedback.
You're like,
I'm applying the lesson already. Before even we Maliza. Okay, no, just go ahead. Yeah.
I think one of the things that I am learning, and a mentor of mine taught me this in 2010. He told me that we men, not women, we as men have the responsibility to create the environment for humanity and for creation to thrive. He told me that, Emmanuel, you are equivalent to the thermostat in an air-conditioned unit, and the woman in your life, or the people in your life, the children, are the thermometer. You set the temperature, and they will tell you what kind of environment that you have set. And I think it's important for us as men, because were created to provide the rulership on earth. And that rulership comes from love, comes from care, from nurture, and leadership. And I think it's critical that everything that he said, Wycliffe said, that we consider it so that we can become the best version that we need for society. When we take our place, I strongly believe the dysfunctions in society will begin to simmer down. And that's it. Mic drop.
Pablo, message to a man in this week of Valentine.
So, my part in short is this. Before we take the questions, those ones will be as our...
These are actually just comments, it's not questions. Yeah.
A man must lead.
Must?
Lead. So, our society is struggling because men are not stepping up. Not stepping up in many spaces where they should. Yeah. So they're doing things, they are present, but they are not active in doing those things from a position of voluntary action. You must lead. Leading means you are purpose, vision, action. So women follow men who lead. I think we were designed, the world was designed like that. When you upset that paradigm, you get a lot of dysfunction. That's why single parent families struggle. Because, not because the woman cannot do or the man cannot do on their own. There's a reason where our roles work best together. So a woman is different, a man is different. Our roles, when put together, amplify our value. So men, one of the biggest things a man is supposed to do, is, you hear this in the head of the house, you lead. You show the way, you offer instruction, and then you act with responsibility. So love fails because those things, there's a dysfunction there somewhere. And because we are fallible and we are human. So here's the other thing. Wear your scars with pride. Don't fear them. Mm-hmm. Those broken places are where the best lessons are. Mm-hmm. That pain is where the purpose is derived. A diamond is wrought in the fire, in the hard places. So we don't go to those hard places because we think, your place need. kauchungu kale, then you don't want to deal with that thing. But by not dealing with that thing, you don't refine yourself into that better person you should be. So how do you get better? Wear your pain.
You turn your scars into stars.
Turn your scars into that one. Don't be afraid of the pain. So me, I'm a believer. There's no love without pain.
Painful love.
Yes. You will find.
You make it sound like love is just this big
No.
label.
The pain is not constant. But remember the seasons, the ebbs and the flows.
Yeah, I get you.
There's no love without the pain.
Yeah.
No, you must sacrifice.
You must sacrifice something.
Yeah.
You must go through some drama. That shaking of the bones.
You know, a good description. Love is a scratch card. Remember scratch cards? Used to buy. You buy the scratch card, so you want to get money, then you scratch. Then you load those 14 digits or 12 digits. Then you enjoy the airtime. So love is a scratch card.
Yeah. So you have to scratch again.
Keep scratching.
Because it issues.
Buy a new scratch
Yeah,
card.
don't buy this scratch card. And reload.
Yeah.
And then finally.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, uwe na mpangilio, uwe na mwelekeo. Lakini pia, you should act out your things with responsibility. Your pain will ring out your purpose. But finally, it's okay. The third one, this is now me, you ask, how do I live this life? Is don't let your past gag your future. If there's one thing that kills love faster than a speeding bullet, it's letting history determine what your future looks like. So you might have had as much drama as possible in your past. You could have had 20 wives where things did not work. It doesn't matter, you're not there now.
Remember the guy at the guy who said,
He was in marriage number 5.
yeah, 6. And I'm just began, we not just stop. And he's saying, kulienda hivi, kukaenda hivi, kukaenda hivi, and I'm here and I'm like, so anyway.
Because this is your life.
And moja tu.
Ni moja tu, you can't change it. So the truth is in accepting. Remember that thing I was saying, dealing with you? Yeah, no, huyo ni mimi.
Wow. Thank you. 2 comments here. One from Winfred Buya. The conversations you are having are inspiring, encouraging men to grow, reflect, and be better versions of themselves. We are delivering some great laughs. Thank you. Thank you, Winfred.
You know who that is.
I don't know whether it's the same person, but maybe it is. Johnny from Kampala. Empower Her Initiative. I think that maybe that's the name of the organization she represents. I'm enjoying this. Men can and must do better. So umesikia.
Oh, I know the people from Empower Her.
Oh, okay.
I've spoken at that.
Maybe.
By the way, I'm supposed to start empower him.
Yeah.
I'm coming.
Yes. So
We have
thanks for that.
a huge following from women.
By the way, kwani kuna kitu ya machali?
Because they feel the one who wears the shoe feels very pinched.
Yeah, I guess so.
So
for them, they want to understand also.
So how do they
yeah.
unlock our potential? How can they be better for us? So maybe some of these conversations are not just about men.
Yeah.
They're also about
Yeah.
how our women see us better.
Yes.
And maybe
Yes.
this conversation that you might be able to have at home directly sometimes. You can have it here.
Okay.
So Children Connect is for that, by the way.
It is.
Yeah, whether it's on the podcast, whether it's on our
Yeah.
live meeting sessions, that's what it is. It's a men-only conversation,
Yeah.
but it's open
Yeah.
in terms of
Yeah.
access. Women can listen to our conversation.
Absolutely.
And maybe understand us better.
Yeah.
Yep.
And ask them. Thank you, guys. I think for me, my parting shot would just be 2 things. Number 1, you can't give what you don't have. So you just have to, I like what you said about working on self, because if I improve self, get help, whether it's through that personal board of directors or therapy or reflection, prayer, whatever, if I become a better version of Lucas, then those around me just benefit automatically without even talking about it. You know, this person is better. And secondly, which is a desire and picture of success for me even in this kind of initiative, is that other men out there, both younger men, even just other men, can get a lifeline. Like that, how you're thrown for in the sea. You know, that one of you guys has said something that will help a man make the right turn or turn around. Because that is why we are here on this earth, really. Nothing else. Yeah? So, guys, thank you, Wycliffe Asante.
Asante sana.
You're buying lunch because you are late. I'm saying that in public.
Accountability, yeah? I wanted to say something about Pablo. Pablo is an interesting guy. Actually, I was just thinking, as we are recording this, I'm asking myself, 2 weeks ago, I didn't know I would be here. You know, I met Pablo last week.
Last week.
Yeah.
Allah?
Yeah, I met him last week. He's a very interesting guy. He's a connector. He has the ability to create new relationships very fast, not just for himself, but between other people that he can connect. So I'm so grateful for that, Pablo. Really appreciate it. And I mean, he's one unique person that I've met who has the ability to connect with people in a very special way.
Imagine how much more you'd connect if you hadn't gone to Patch. But anyway, he knows why I keep on saying that.
You know this guy went to our school called Lenana. Lenana boys and girls and little
Duke of York. Duke of York. Yeah.
This fight will never end.
Anyway, Pastor Emmanuel, thank you. We wouldn't thank you enough for making the time. And all the best in what you're doing to leave your dent on the universe.
Amen.
And I hope we can engage more in future in whatever platform. Now that we've connected, you never know where this thing will end. Yeah.
You have a story for us before you end, and he has a podcast that he runs that we need to.
Oh, tell us about it.
Oh yeah, we haven't launched it yet, but this is a good platform to market it before it's out. We've recorded a couple of episodes. It's called the Think Pill podcast.
Think
Pill.
Oh, Think Pill.
Pill. Oh. You know how is
pill kama dawa.
Pill, yeah. You know how they talk about the red pill and the blue pill. Now these are Think Pill.
Okay.
So the Think Pill podcast has got a lot of similarities with what we're doing here. So the focus is on deep thinking and deep conversations about normal topics that people just scratch on the surface. So we talk about friendship. Like, for example, what does friendship mean to you now and how different is it from your childhood and such kind of conversations. We talk about love, of course. We talk about family. We talk about careers. We talk about politics. But then we try to dig deeper beyond the surface of things. Yeah, so it's a conversation between me and my friend. We started it from just getting to share what we used to talk about on Sundays. We used to hang out a lot and talk about stuff. So we decided, why don't we record what we talk about? Add some mic and put a camera.
Yeah.
So we've recorded a couple of episodes. We are planning to launch in this first quarter. Yeah, so we'll be happy to start inviting guests in.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Wonderful. All right, gents. Masaa imeenda sana. So let's end it there. Thank you once again. And we keep the conversation going. Yeah. Asanteni sana.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and don't buy a coffee press.